Chairman Brodell, this Nick, yes. I do have some additional information on that loan for you whenever we start back, if you want.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, I've got 16 after, and we've got a few more items for the full board, so I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order for the full board. Agenda item number 1, the minutes of the April 23rd regular meeting. They begin on page 1-1 of our agenda book. Are there any questions or changes to these minutes?
I move they be accepted as presented.
I've got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Before we go on to agenda item number 2, Mr. Fuller said he had some information from, I believe it was the Finance Committee. He had some information to bring back up from there.
Yes, sir. In regard to the loan feasibility for the University of Arkansas Fayetteville, there were some questions on the energy savings and when it would exceed the cost of the project. The estimated savings per year on that project are between 1.3 and 1.4 million dollars, where the debt service is right close to 1.2 million each year. So each year they will be generating savings above the cost per year. So it should exceed the total cost of the loan between years 9 and 10 of that loan when it expires. And then the estimated life is around 20 years. So they will still generate savings for 10 years past that loan.
Thank you for that. Really
Yes,
appreciate that. I love hearing cost savings. That's great. Information, agenda item number 2, our director's report. I'll turn it over to Dr. Maria Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have the full report of all the activities in my office printed in your agenda book. I do want to notify the board of a couple of staff changes. We have a new addition. Jacarlo Shepard has joined our AmeriCorps program as a program officer. He started just a couple of weeks ago, so we welcome him to higher education. And unfortunately, we are saying goodbye. This is the last day here at the agency for Beth Stewart, who is our senior policy analyst. We are so sad to see her go, but she has accepted a really great opportunity to move forward in her career. She is going to be the student records functional lead for Project 1 at the University of Arkansas System Office. So we wish her the best. We're sad for us, glad for her. And U of A System has snagged a fantastic employee. So best wishes to Beth. Our institutional leadership changes. Zachary Perrine has been named interim chancellor at UA Community College at Batesville. That follows the retirement that we talked about last time of Chancellor Deborah Frazier. So he is there on an interim basis. Dr. Randy Esters accepted a position as chancellor of Louisiana Delta Community College in Monroe. So he has returned home to Louisiana. That's where we snagged him initially. Dawn Sugg was named interim president during the presidential search, but that search has already wrapped. And Dr. Rick Massengale has been selected as North Ark's 5th college president. He comes from an internal hire. He was the VP for Academic and Student Affairs. So congratulations to Dr. Massengale. We missed Dr. Esters already, but this is a great addition to the presidents and chancellors team here in the state. And then the final announcement we have on institutional leadership, Christine Holt has been recommended by President Donald Bobbitt to be the chancellor at University of Arkansas Hope Texarkana. So I don't know that she's on the call today because her first day is actually going to be September 1st. So we look forward to meeting her at our October meeting if she's not here. Before I get to the higher ed COVID response, I do want to send my regrets to everyone that we were not able to hold this meeting face to face. We had been postponing that for over a year with hopes that our cases would decrease and vaccinations would be to the point that we would be able to safely conduct this meeting in person. So it initially had been planned, but because of the surge that's going on in the state, we felt it was more prudent to hold this meeting virtually. We also have postponed the board orientation. We're gonna monitor that. We would like to do that face to face, but if cases continue in the direction they're going, we'll likely move that to a virtual format as well. So we'll make an announcement soon on what the format and possible dates will be for our board members. But COVID-19 response, we have around $1.3 million remaining in federal CARES funds that we have shifted solely for testing at this point. So we are working with our institutions to make plans to coordinate all of our COVID-19 testing for the fall. We think that we can make it through the first of the year with the amount of funds that we have remaining. We have several agreements with various state agencies and vendors to make sure that we have a robust selection of testing options and that we're identifying outbreaks as they come up. We have a lot of surveillance testing we're doing for student athletes and people who are in communal housing, such as dorms. So we've worked really hard to keep higher education open through the pandemic. We came back, I think, a lot sooner than most states. We're a little concerned at this point because of the restrictions on mandating masks, the restrictions on requiring vaccinations for various purposes, that we will see cases rise. And that's bad enough, but the health implication is one thing, but shutting down our institutions to a virtual format is definitely not what we want to see. I think we're much more prepared this time to pivot to virtual if we have to, but not being able to have good control over our safety measures is definitely a concern for many of our institutions. So I would love to tell you that everybody is doing the same thing, that we have one plan, but really it's a local decision on how those safety measures are being implemented, and just working really hard to walk that line between student safety and not running afoul of the legislation that passed in this previous session. Mr. Brodell did mention, draw your attention to agenda items 5 through 13. You can draw a big red line through those and cut about 50% of this meeting down. Yesterday, just before end of the day, we learned that there is now a new step in the bureaucracy of approving rules, and we skipped it. So we have to back up a bit, get another approval, and my intention is to call a special board meeting with the consent of the chair to review all of these rules. The process for that is once this board recommends those for public comments, they go out for 30 days. They come back to us, we consolidate any comments, decide whether or not there need to be changes based on that. It goes to ALC as well. So we are really trying to get everything through this process and approved by ALC by January, because many of these rules pertain to scholarships, and scholarship season starts happening in the spring. So any changes that need to be made, students need to know about them around the first of the year. So we will, as soon as possible, reach out to all the board members for your availability and go through those. We don't anticipate any major changes to what we have in your board book. So if you want to go through those rules, develop any questions that you might have for that special call meeting, I don't anticipate much deviation from what you see. We just have to make sure we have gone through the appropriate approval processes before it comes to you. And I believe that's my report. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Markham? Thank you once again, Dr. Markham, for your report and for your leadership. We appreciate all you and your team do.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3 is an informational item on the annual concurrent enrollment report, and Dr. Jesse Walker will present that.
Next slide, please. Concurrent education has become a popular item in the state of Arkansas. It's normally taken by high school students after the 8th grade, at least the 8th grade. The courses that are offered have to be the freshman and sophomore courses. Those courses must be within the Arkansas course transfer system or career technical courses. They're required to be listed as part of a MOU, a memorandum of understanding between the university or institution and the school district. Next slide. One of the requirements also in terms of policy is that the institution must have ownership of the courses. This includes in terms of providing the appropriate instructor that has appropriate credentials, ensuring the instructor is receiving training along the way, and ensuring that students have access to institutional resources such as academic libraries, advising, and the campus itself if necessary. Next slide, please. Currently, between AY 18 to AY 2021, we saw a decrease in concurrent enrollment at four-year institutions of 8%. While we saw an increase at two-year institutions of 2%. In your agenda item, there is a listing 2-year to 4-year in all courses between 2018 to 2021, current year. Also, worth noting is female students are still the largest population that enroll in concurrent courses, regardless of institutional type. They're a significantly larger majority at two-year institutions, but as well at four-year institutions. When we look at the demographic breakdown of concurrent enrollment students, currently we have about 73% of those are considered Caucasian, 9% is considered Hispanic, and 8% is African American. And those trend lines kind of reflect the COVID effect, but we expect them to go up in terms of engagement with concurrent. Next slide, please. One of the requests that's been made of us before is to create a map listing all the concurrent locations in the state and their partners. Your appendix has a listing of each institution by school district partner, and then listing by semester and cost and before and after scholarships are applied, and the number of students who did not pay tuition at the institution for concurrent. Also, one of the requirements of concurrent institutions must be authorized either by the Arkansas Higher Education Coordinating Board or by NACEP, a national organization for concurrent. We did an annual review last year for those who have already been accredited. This year, we allowed a special effort for the private institutions over the course of this summer. Next slide. And we're able to report that we have 3 new institutions that have been accredited by us self-concurrent starting this August, including Harding University, Ouachita Baptist College, and Crowley's Ridge College. And their next review will be in 2026, 2025, 2026. Next slide. Also in your packet is a summary of the state of concurrent in terms of, first of all, the institutions that generate the most credit hours in terms of concurrent on your left-hand side of the chart there, the total number of students served by concurrent, and then just the point made again that 6 out of 10 of the students who are currently enrolled in concurrent or have enrolled in concurrent are female students. Any questions?
Dr. Walker, Terry Cash, the concurrent courses offered in the public school,
Mm-hmm.
are they allowing any remediated courses or developmental courses to be taught as a concurrent class?
They can do that for non-credit. And so it's basically like you would start college early, but you're doing remediation early, basically. But many institutions now have what you call co-requisite remediation. And so those students who, not concurrent students, but those students that enroll in college will be enrolled in a standard gateway course plus a remedial course. So the number of remedial classes being offered for concurrent has decreased significantly over the last couple of years.
Or are they still required to pay the tuition?
Yeah,
If
you're still taking a university class.
If it's if it's a remedial course, non-credit, do they still pay the tuition?
Yes, you still pay for the instructor and so forth, the class, yes.
Dr. Walker, this is Al. You touched on a 8% reduction. Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, for 4-year
in
institutions.
enrollment?
Yeah, for 4-year
For
institutions.
4-year institutions.
While 2-year,
are we attributing all of that to COVID, or is there any other signs out there, a difference in the number of courses offered, or where they're offered, or did you see any other statistical evidence that would
no, sir.
lie
That
outside of COVID?
No. Outside of COVID, that's the only thing that makes sense in terms of those decrease because of the hands-on and how COVID measures were placed on the secondary schools and post-secondary. You really couldn't do what you could in the past.
Dr. Walker, let
Any
me
other
ask.
questions?
Yeah, Dr. Walker, could I ask one more question about the way the data is presented on tuition before and after scholarships?
Mhm.
And my friends at Arkansas Tech do not, it's basically, they do not, the students there do not pay anything. Am I reading that right?
Let me go down the list here. Yes, I believe that's correct. Yes.
Yes, before and after. And then it says number of students who did not pay tuition. I would think that would be all, not zero.
Are there any representatives from Arkansas Tech on the call?
They don't charge anything, but said number of students who did not pay tuition, they're none.
Dr. Carr, I'll research that and get back to you on that one.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
Good
you.
mor- Good morning. This is Laurie Fiorillo, Vice President of Admin and Finance with Arkansas Tech University. We can, if we may, the number of students who did not pay tuition is not, they did not pay tuition. It's the schools that pay that tuition. And then we return that back to the schools for their costs for services for those classes that they do concurrently. Does that answer your question, or am I not touching what you need on that?
It's just a little confusing the way it's presented. It says that tuition before and after scholarships, the cost is all zero. And then the number of students who do not pay tuition says zero. Maybe it's the way it's worded. It just seems awkward.
Also along that same line, University of Arkansas Fort Smith, you've got before and after it varies. And then you've got 100% over there. How do you read that?
so varied institutions will have different agreements with different school districts. And so as you go down the list, you may see different rates by school district. So that's the varied part.
Yeah, but when you get to students who do not pay tuition, it's
Mhm.
100%.
If I'm not mistaken, that means that 100% of those students who enrolled in concurrent did not pay tuition in terms of similar to Arkansas Tech with the school district covering the cost. But I will gladly research that and get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Because each one of those numbers represent an individual MOU that's submitted to us. And so that's a lot of going through the weeds of the MOUs.
My only question was, it looks like it should be 100% at Arkansas Tech who do not pay tuition instead of zero. So maybe I'm missing something there.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dr. Walker? Thank you, Dr. Walker. It looks like you're up for our next one. Agenda item number 4 is also an informational agenda item, report on annual review of faculty performance. Dr. Walker.
So, Mr. Brodell, annually we're required to present to you and notify you the institutions that completed faculty evaluations and performance reviews. This year was a bit different in terms of the evaluation criteria institutions utilized, particularly because of the transfer to online mediums. And so traditionally it's been, in classroom observations, engagement with students, and then external activities. The only change this year in terms of was online evaluation, and then also in terms of institutions evaluating faculty on how they transition to an online medium in terms of instruction. So that's the report on that. And I just said all that. The intrusive advising has reduced a great deal because of COVID. So that's the only notable change there. So.
Any questions for Dr. Walker on agenda item number 4? Thank you, Dr. Walker. As we've noted a couple of times, agenda items number 5 all the way through 13 have been taken off today's agenda. Those financial aid rules and regulations will be presented during an upcoming special board meeting. The date is yet to be determined. I'd encourage everyone to watch for that date coming from Nicole or Dr. Markham there at the department. We'll try to get a special meeting together to go over those rules and regulations. So we will move on to the report of the Finance Committee. Mr. Revels.
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee recommends the approval of agenda items 14 and 14B.
Do I hear a second to approve the agenda items of 14 and 14B based on the Finance Committee's report?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, Mr. Revels. Report of the Academic Committee. I believe, did Ms. Griffin have to depart?
Yes, sir.
On behalf of Ms. Griffin, I will report that the Academic Committee has reviewed items 21 and 22, and the Academic Committee recommends the approval of agenda items 15 through 20. Do I hear a second to approve the agenda items 15 through 20 based on the Academic Committee's report?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you for that. Public comments. We'll now open the floor to any presidents or chancellors who wish to address the board. I'll just say that for me personally, I believe this is one of the opportunities for people to come and address the board, bring up any concerns, issues. I'd love to hear anything from any presidents or chancellors, any comments on today's agenda, any wishes that they have on future agendas or changes to the agenda. In future board meetings, please, if you want to take advantage of this time, we'll just pause a minute. Any comments at all?
Al, I've got a comment or a question that may be relevant. I'm not sure if I can ask it.
Absolutely.
Sure. I'm curious if any of the universities out there are considering or doing currently micro degrees where you're cobbling together a handful of, sort of like kind classes.
Can you hear me? This is Robin Bowen from Arkansas Tech.
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
We are looking at micro-credentials at Arkansas Tech and how we can, well, we've been working on stacking for a number of years, and how we can have students be able to continue their program, but also be able to step out if they need to and still have enough education that they can do something at a different level, and then be able to come back and add some additional courses and then be able to operate at a higher level in their job. But we are looking at how we might even fold that into micro-credentials. It does take a lot of work because it requires us to also look outside the regular semester schedule, and how we might even have people perhaps come to campus for 3 weeks and attend classes pretty much Monday through Friday. They may be coming from out of town or out of state and need housing on the campus during that period of time. And then again, learn something that's a micro-credential that hopefully would then be able to fold into an associate's or a bachelor's degree at some point if they opt to do that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it did. I would just say that one of the trends that I'm seeing with different companies, and I can just only use us as a proxy here, is that as we try to retain employees, we look for different ways to give them various types of benefits. And so one of the things that is important for a lot of people is continuing education. And so while it doesn't make sense always to sponsor people for full degrees, what it does make sense for us to do is to fund micro credentials where somebody would take a certain number of classes. And as we've seen more and more classes go online, especially in COVID, maybe people have gotten it down to where they can continue that in some respects. And so I just think there's not only do I think there's going to be trends to more online just in general driving the cost down, but I also think there's opportunities for some of our universities to take what they do really well and offer it to an expanded group of people as another revenue source. So just food for thought. And if anybody wants to talk to me individually about what we're doing at our company as it relates to what they might have, I'm more than welcome to entertain anything like that, offline.
Again, this is Robin Bowen. Thank you. I will be taking you up on that.
Thank you, Mr. McNeil. Any other comments or announcements?
Yeah, Al, I'd like to ask our guest today just if they could give us some feedback on what they're seeing in terms of the enrollment for the fall term. Last year was a tough year. What are our schools seeing in terms of enrollment? Is it a positive picture? Are we about the same, down a little bit?
This is Robin Bowen again. I anticipate that at Arkansas Tech, we are going to be down somewhat this year. I'll just go ahead and put it out there.
Oh, go ahead, Terry.
I'm going to say this from University of Arkansas Fayetteville, where the enrollment numbers are looking very positive for us right now. So we're expecting a slight increase this year.
Mr. Carr, this is Houston Davis at UCA. Generally, when our board members are asking that question, we feel very good about our freshman numbers, pretty good about transfer, very good about new graduate. The real variable that's out there is what's the impact of this last year in terms of retention on sophomores, juniors, and seniors. That's probably the cloudy picture, part of the picture right now.
Good, thank you.
Thank you all for that. Thank you for that question, Dr. Carr. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I do have to announce that, again, those agenda items will be in a special meeting between now and our next quarterly meeting, is what we anticipate. Our next quarterly meeting will be on October 29th, 2021, and I hope through vaccinations and decreased numbers that in the near future we're all able to get together in the same room and I'll get to meet and greet with each one of you personally. And so that's the hope, but right now our numbers are going in the opposite direction, at least here in Northeast Arkansas. Those of you who don't know, I do work in healthcare, have since I was 18, and we have the Delta variant all over Arkansas, but we're really feeling it here in Northeast Arkansas right now. So I encourage everybody to stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. If you haven't been vaccinated, I encourage you to vaccinate. That's just my PSA. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all. Wonderful to see you. We'll see you at the special meeting before October 29th. Everybody stay safe. Thank you all. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Al. You did a great job.
Wow, you guys walked me through it. Y'all do such a great job having us all prepared. I can't thank you enough. I think your whole department does a wonderful job. Alan, before you go, I said bone. I thought I heard boon, and I started to say bond. I've got to just ask you directly.
It's bone.
Bone. All right. Just wanted to make sure. Well, hey, that's about how our board meetings go. Usually a little bit longer. A lot of us love to get that agenda book, or the entire book in advance, read through it, develop some really good questions. From my background, ask a lot of the financial stuff. I've learned what's important to me and those that I talk to on the academic side as it applies to starting salaries, need. You heard some of the conversation about the different degrees today, I just can't thank you enough again for being here and for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to meeting you.
Man, that's great. I'm likewise very encouraged by this process and willing to do whatever you guys need me to do, and I'm glad to participate.
Well, I'll tell you, after my first board meeting, I tried to find Nicole Abernathy and make sure that I told her, don't let me embarrass myself. You walk me through this, make sure I'm prepared. And, they all do a great job, and Dr. Maria Markham, her entire staff, they'll answer anything in advance or after for you. They do an amazing job getting the information we need to be prepared and ask the intelligent questions. So if you have anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me, reach out to that staff. They'll get you taken care of.
You got it. I'll take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Markham, you have anything for me before I sign off?
No, I'll just get with you as soon as I get some approvals on those rules for some possible dates. And then the other thing, if you want to have the board orientation sooner rather than later, we probably need to do it in a virtual format. I hate that we have new board members that have not yet been through the orientation, or we can push it until further in the year if you want to try to do it first.
What's your opinion? I'm with you. I think orientation is best done day one, but I want everybody to be safe, and I know that in a virtual atmosphere, it sometimes can be distracting. I know somebody knocked on my door 6 times in the last 2 hours. I have 57 missed text messages and 4 missed calls and 3 voicemails. So I will defer to your expertise on that.
Well,
I want it to be meaningful for the people receiving it, and I want you guys to make best use of your time.
Well, I think sometimes it's helpful for the new members to sit through a meeting before we even have orientation, because then they have
It was for me.
some perspective on what's going on and have some better questions maybe to ask for us. I don't have a preference. I mean, this is how we live right now through Zoom, and we're comfortable with it. I do want to meet everybody in person, have an opportunity to have some off the record conversations and get some questions answered and asked, but that may need to be something separate. We may need to go ahead and move forward with orientation and then, do what we usually do, bring you guys in a night early, have dinner.
Yes, I like that idea.
The executive meeting the night before, once it's safe to do so.
I second that emotion.
Okay. Well, I'll get with
I'm going to get off here.
We'll start putting together an agenda for the virtual. We'll want to do it in real time. I don't want to just send out a canned orientation, but we'll look for some dates, kind of get a plan. Wonderful. I'm going to hop off here. I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope you and your families all stay safe. I've got 6,000 vaccinations I'd like to give out in the next day or two. So if you know anybody needs a vaccination, I'll hand them out. Don't even have to make an appointment. Don't have to wait in line. Just send them to my clinic lobby downstairs or the hospital lobby here in Jonesboro. You send them my way. I'll send some underage kids. If you don't mind vaccinating them. No questions asked. Give them a fake ID. We won't ask too many questions. Y'all have a great weekend. Either. Thank y'all. Have a great weekend.